Hi guys, I hope that this video finds you well. I do apologize that I haven't done a video in a couple of weeks. I just, we've had some things going on and I've been really busy here lately, so I do apologize. I have had these notes for a couple of weeks now, so I want to kind of get into this, and this may be something that it continues from here, but the first part of this, the first part that I want to share with you is something that's been on my heart for a couple of weeks. When we begin to go into our walk with God, we have to be prepared to go to war. You say, what? What are you talking about? Well, we do. We have to be able to be prepared to go to war and fight for what we want in God. We have to fight for that place in God that we want to be. We have to fight for to make our calling and our election sure. And you say, well, I've never heard it put like that, but we really do. We have to, we have to pray, we have to seek, and we do have to fight to come forth in what God has called and purposed us to do. So I started asking God, how do we prepare for war? How do we prepare for war in the spirit? Because the scriptures tells us that we will battle things that are not of this world. Well, if they're not of this world, then we've got to know how. And yes, I know everybody wants to refer to the scriptures, put on the full armor of God. Well, that's a little bit about what I'm going to talk to you about today. There are different parts to war. If we look at our natural military today, we have different branches of the military, right? We have the Army, we have the Marines, we have the Air Force, we have the Navy, and then even in each one of those, there's special forces and special things to do different jobs. So when we begin to go to war, we have to begin to go to war realizing that we can't fight every battle the same. Yes, David defeated Goliath with a sling. He slung a slingshot and a stone, and that stone hit him, and then he cut his head off with his own sword. But every battle that David went into, he didn't fight with just a sling and a stone. He had to learn to use other weapons as well. So we have to learn. We have been equipped. We've been given those tools. We've been given the full armor of God, but we got to know how to use it. We got to learn to be steadfast in using it. We've got to learn to be equipped with it. And so I just really started studying war. And I know you think, well, that's a strange thing to do, but I did. I started looking things up. I read about biblical wars and how they were fought and the strategies and the different times that different things were used. I listened to preachers talk about war. I researched war in the natural and in the spirit. I did a whole lot of things just to learn about wars. And we of course we learn about wars in school. I watched I can't talk. I apologize. I watched several documentaries on war, and I looked at battle formations from biblical days. I studied how that they went to war, and we're going to get to those battle formations and what that means to us. And, I've always loved history. But this time I wasn't just looking at a time in history. I wasn't just looking to learn history. No, I was looking more. I was looking for more in the spirit. I was looking for that, how to figure out that spiritual warfare. I wanted to know how to be an effectual soldier in God's army, because we are called to be in God's army. That little song that we all sung in Sunday school. So I wanted God to teach me how to fight. I wanted to know how to have a battle plan, and I wanted to know it in detail. I wanted it laid out for me. I wanted to understand it, because if I can understand it, then I can put it into action. You can't put something to action in your life if you don't understand it. So I wanted to understand it, and I feel like this is going to be maybe a series of videos, or maybe I'll come back and reference from time to time, because I have a lot of notes, and it's really just too many notes to kind of put in one video. So where I want to start is in my research on war. I found this, and it's on the U.S. Army website, but I think it applies to us spiritually as well. So it talks about basic training. When a new soldier enters into basic training, the new soldier is issued all of the equipment that they are going to need to survive. During their training, they will learn how to use that equipment. So when they enlist and they go into basic training, they're given their tools. They're given everything that they're going to need to survive. Now, they may not know how to use those tools yet, and they may not know how to, they may not have perfected those tools yet, but they are given them. So that's kind of like us. When we come to God, and He's given us our tools. He's given them to us. But we have got to practice and perfect the use of them. When we enlist God's army, we are too given all of our equipment. We must be taught how to survive. That will come in many different ways, and I'm here to tell you, God, He will use ministers to teach us. He will use our circumstances to teach us, and He will use reprove and rebuke to teach us. And we have to learn not to allow our feelings to be hurt when that comes. The thing we must do is pray to have a teachable spirit. And we must be willing to learn the hard lessons. We have to. You know, if an elder in God comes to you and they are sincerely trying to help you, and they say, hey, you know, maybe you should, you know, whatever the situation is, you know, maybe they can teach you how to handle a situation, or they can give you insight and wisdom on how to handle situations. I have people that I go to when I need some guidance. You know, we all have those people that we trust, and I have those people in my life that when, you know, I need help in a situation, or I want to be sure that I'm walking out a situation right, there are people that I lean on and people that I contact to make sure that, you know, because I want to do what is right in the Lord's eyes, and I don't want to get caught up in myself, in my flesh, in my emotion, because we can't serve God in our emotion. We can't serve God in ourself. We have to serve Him in spirit and in truth. So if one of those people that you trust you go to get advice comes to you to give you advice, then you need to heed that. You need to really be in obedience to your instructors and your teachers and your leaders in God. Before a soldier learns how to use any of his equipment, the first thing, and this is the thing that really got me, and this is still, again, on the U.S. Army website. This really caught my attention, and I felt like that it was really beneficial, not only to me, but to you guys as well. At least I hope that it encourages you. But before a soldier learns how to use any of their equipment, so before they learn to use their gun, before they learn to use, you know, whatever they're given, all of the equipment that they're given, before they learn to use that, do you know the first thing they're taught? The very first thing they're taught in training, it's battle mind training. This is where a soldier is made to train his mind for battle. The purpose of this program is to teach soldiers how to face fear and adversity in combat with courage. The first thing a soldier learns is to have a battle-ready mind. So after reading this, I asked myself, why? Why is that the first thing? Why is that the first thing that a soldier is taught, is to have a battle-ready mind? Why is he taught that before he's taught how to use his weapon? Well, I'm going to tell you why, because I got the answer. Ask and you shall receive, right? It's because if you are defeated in your mind, then you're already defeated. If you don't think you can win, you will not win. If you don't think God can heal you, God won't heal you. If you don't think God will move for you, then God won't move for you. If you don't think that He will do what you're praying for, if you don't have that faith and that confidence, then He's not going to do it. Look at Proverbs 23, verse 7. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee. The first part of that verse says, so a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. You are what you think you are. I know that sounds very simple, but it's so true. I have lived it in my own life. There have been times in my own life where I have reached for God but it's somewhere in the back of my mind or somewhere I thought, there's no way, this is not possible. I have went through those things in my life. But I'm here today to tell you that every time I've prayed a prayer and every time I've had the confidence to believe God and to trust God, God has came through for me. So what you think is what you are. If you don't think that you can, you will not. But here's the fun part. Here's the great part about this. If you think you can, then you will. Now, there are many scriptures I can put here. I'm sure a lot of those are coming to your mind, such as greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world, or for with God all things are possible. And both of those scriptures are true and very important scriptures. But that's not where I'm going today. I'm going to bring in some very familiar scriptures. Some you have probably heard, some you read, some you can quote, some you have been quoted to you 1,000 times. And some of them you can quote yourself. But I want us to look at Romans 8, verse 7. Because the carnal mind is enmity or against God, for it is not subject to the law of God, and neither indeed can it be. Why do we need to get our minds battle ready? We start by putting our helmet of salvation on. What do we do? I'm sorry, I said why. What do we do to get our minds battle ready? What do we do to get them ready? Well, we start by putting on the helmet of salvation. Ephesians 6:17, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. After we have our helmet on, then we can start to do what 2 Corinthians chapter 10 tells us to do. In 2 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 4, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but they are mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. 2 Corinthians 10 and 5, casting down the imagination and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of God, and bringeth into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. The helmet of salvation is one of the weapons 2 Corinthians 10 and 4 is talking about. With our helmet of salvation on, we can start to pull down the strongholds of the enemy in our minds. We can cast down the imaginations that the enemy has placed in our minds, and we can bring down and captivate every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of God. We can also bring our thought into obedience of Christ. The helmet of salvation is to help guard or protect our minds. We cannot allow the enemy to defeat us in our mind. We must recognize the lies and the thoughts of the enemy when they come into our mind. We have to cast them down and use our helmet to protect our mind. Isaiah 26 and 3, thou wilt keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed upon the Lord, because he trusteth in thee. We must learn to condition our minds to stay up on Christ. In closing, I'm going to leave you with a quote from the U.S. Army, and this is from the U.S. Army's webpage, and I mean, it's a quote from their webpage, but I think that it fits very well into what we're talking about today. It applies in our spirit as well, and this is the quote. We realized long ago you have to build a foundation. We cannot keep sending bodies where we have not prepared minds to go. And that quote is by Michael Reinhardt, and it's found on the U.S. Army webpage. But I want us to look at that. we realized long ago you have to build a foundation. So, first, you have to build your foundation, and your foundation should be built on Jesus Christ and nothing else. We have to prepare our minds. We can't send our body into battle if our mind is not ready to go. Our foundation is on the rock of Jesus. We must be built up on Him. Let's get battle ready by first preparing our mind. I feel this is the first step in preparing for war. It's preparing our mind. And I hope that you understand what I'm trying to get across to you today, and that you understand that you can prepare your mind. You can condition your mind for war. You have to be battle ready. You have to be willing to condition yourself, to train your mind to stay up on the Lord. When the enemy's talking to you in this ear, you have to be able to tune that out and not listen to those lies, but focus on God. Focus on what He wants to do in you. Have your mind battle ready. And if you, so is a man thinketh, so is he. That's the part that I want to really leave with you today. Is you cannot go to war in the natural if your mind's not ready for that war. But I'm here to tell you, you can't go to battle in the spirit if you haven't already prepared your mind for that battle. You have to have a battle ready mind before you can pick up any of your equipment. The first thing is your helmet of salvation, and you got to have that mind ready. And that helmet it's there to protect your mind. It's there to protect you against the forces of the enemy. It is there to protect you against the lies, but you got to know how to use it, and you got to put it on, and you got to condition your mind. And when you get your mind conditioned, that helmet can help you stop the lies of the enemies coming in. And so I just want to close there today. I do want to hopefully go on into this with some other thoughts on being prepared for war. But I really hope that this is encouraging you. It's my prayer that it blesses you. And I hope that you all are doing well and prospering in the name of Jesus. Love you guys.